Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic week. At least the start of your week has been going well. I'm Dave Collins. I'm from Single Point IT, and this afternoon we're going to be looking at the Google Drive app and how it can be used not only in teaching and learning, but just I think in general organization. How could we guarantee that we know where our files are, we can access them easily, and it doesn't really matter which computer we sit down at. So I'm hoping that you're in a good frame of mind to listen this afternoon. We're going to be taking through, I guess, not technical stuff, but stuff that I've got a feeling that this afternoon you actually might want to pause the broadcast or watch it back later on, realizing that these broadcasts are all available to you on YouTube. And so we're hopeful that by doing that, you'll be able to pause when you need to learn or listen to something and go over some of the details again. I have been working in a BYOT school for students for the last 3 years, and for the last 2 years, we've been giving our staff MacBook Airs. They've been able to be set up as either a Mac OS X computer or a Windows computer, but it's standardized our hardware. But one of the key parts of the building blocks for that to work was for us to have an app called Google Drive, the application installed on people's computers. And so this afternoon, I want to go through how we set that up and why we set it up the way we did. Because to me, it was one of the most crucial building blocks in allowing staff to be able to have a computer that they take home and work with anytime they want, allowing staff to have access to the files that they need, but also ensuring that as a school, we had access to their files if we needed to. We don't spend every day looking through their files, but if we need to get access to something for a particular reason, we do have the capabilities and capacities to go and grab those files. And it also does give us a really good backup if anything happens to people's computer. So I'm going to switch to screen so you can see my whole screen today. My whole screen will hopefully be helpful for you. So I'm going to go to the entire screen, which might make some of the details just a little small, but hopefully we can work all right with that. In fact, I think what we might do is we might just minimize the Hangout screen so you don't have to watch yourself from there. And going to bring that one up just a little bit bigger from there. All right, so this is Google Drive. I'm sure a lot of you who are listening this afternoon, if you've listened to any of this before, are quite aware of what Google Drive is. This is Google Drive on the web. Note, I'm in a web browser. I'm in Chrome at this point in time, and I am very much using this as the key way of organizing my files. This is not my work setup. This is my personal setup. But it's generally the setup I use when I run trainings for you guys on the afternoon. So here is Google Drive, the web app. It allows me to go and see a whole bunch of different types of files. You can see I've even got some maps here now, some forms, some spreadsheets, some drawings, a whole lot of different versions of different files over the years. And it's even possible for me to have logos and to have Word documents and PowerPoint presentations sitting in here. I also have a number of folders. Once you're logged into Google Drive, you'll see that there's this special button down here which says Get Drive for Mac. And what we're saying is no longer just have Drive in the cloud on a web browser, but we want to be able to access it here. So I'm going to download a copy of the Google Drive app for Macs. Now, obviously, if you're in a school in a managed environment, your IT department would probably help you download these. I've got a pretty quick connection here, so it's not going to take too long to download the app. But basically, this app will allow us to have a folder which gets synchronized as long as we are connected to the internet to guarantee that we always have the most recent version of the file available to us. And so this afternoon, I am out working on a computer which is different from my normal computer. And the reason I've chosen to do that is I didn't want to play with my setup with Google Drive this afternoon. I want to be able to show you how to do it with a fresh install. And basically what will happen from here is this app will be running in the background all the time on this computer. And what it will do is it will continually be checking the web to see if there is a more recent version of any file. And if there's a more recent version, because you've done some work on it somewhere else, it will copy down automatically the most recent version. Meaning, in a sense, we actually get two copies of everything that sits here in our Google Drive. We have the copy that sits on the web, but then we'll also have a copy which will sit on our computer. And hopefully that will be a really simple way of ensuring that the files that we use are accessible whether we're at our device or not. So I am struggling a little bit with a cold this afternoon. So just as that downloads, I'm going to just quickly grab a quick drink of my tea. And just try and protect my voice just a little bit. I had one of those Year 12 lessons today where it was me constantly talking, answering a lot of students' questions about questions that they needed help with for exams, but I just came away at the end of it going, oh, I have not a lot of voice left. All right, just as we wait the last few seconds here, you may want to follow these steps as we're going along. If you want to do the same thing, log into Google Drive, get Drive for Mac, choose the appropriate one, and then it will download the app. Okay, so we now have the application brought down off the web, and it's going to install it. Just verifying it. Obviously for a PC, it's a slightly different process, but a very similar process, and it does actually pretty well work the same. Now on a Mac, to install, drag and drop. Authenticate. To put in my password, obviously, and you may require your IT department to help you with that. Okay, so that's now installed. On a Mac, to actually get it to run, it should actually automatically run, but if it doesn't, you can find a way of making that happen by putting it in the automatically startup items and preferences. But I'm just going to double click on this app now called Google Drive. All right, it's from the internet. Sure you want to open it? Yes. I know some of the Macs would actually now require me to upgrade my security to say it's fine. It's going to drive me through these first steps, get started. It's got a number of students who have been using this computer at some other point. And I'm going to put in my email address. By the way, if you've got any feedback on any of the things we're doing or suggestions for what we could cover, feel free to use this email to give me a call, send me a message. So what happens is now is this add your files into this folder. So it's creating a folder on my computer called Google Drive. And I will also end up with some other options here. So it's worthwhile reading that through. Note now it says here Google Drive. You can now access your Google Drive from here. So by doing that, you can see that I actually have a folder up here. It says sign in. Just need to put my password in again. Not sure why, but I do. Excuse me. So now what it's creating is a folder here called Google Drive. And notice how this has now got a spinning little logo up here. It's going to bring down all my data off the web that I could use here. So it's preparing for sync. Got 1,000 files to sync, which is probably not surprising knowing me. $2,000 files to sync. Let's see if we can get that a bit higher. Maybe I should have used a smaller account, although my personal account for school has a lot more files and a lot more data than this. Sync complete. Well, it's not complete, but what you can see now is it's looking on the web and it's going, do I have the latest version of this particular file? And it's bringing it down. And it's bringing it down pretty quick. You can see that my folders have been created. On my Mac here, it's created a folder here called Google Drive in my shortcuts bar on the side for me, and it's bringing down a whole lot of files. It'll bring down some of the books that I've written over the years and some different page separations that I've done. And basically, if I'd had my computer destroyed or stolen, or if all my files were in the air, in the cloud, I would just be able to install the Drive app, and then I'd be able to wait for it all to download. So what we can see here is these folders should actually start to match up with the folders that are here listed. Note that at the moment I've got them listed by last modified. I'll just switch it to name just to prove it. Admin Autocrat demo, and then if I click across this, admin Autocrat, and then basically moving from there. You will note that it does come up with some Google Docs, the GDOC files. I need you to be aware of this is really just a web shortcut. If you double click on this file, all that you really are going to do is you are going to open up a web browser so you can actually access that file. But any files which have got actual files inside them, and you can see it's still syncing, so I haven't actually got all my files down here yet, but it's certainly coming along. So let's talk about why we'd want to do this. It means that I have two copies, one in the cloud and one on my local computer. And the nice thing is that when I put something here, that's going to be synced automatically into the cloud. And if I make a change over in the cloud here, that will automatically get synced back to my Google Drive on my local computer. Now for me, I actually I have a different computer at home that I work on, a bigger screen than my laptop. And so I have Google Drive installed on both of those machines. So if I make a change on my laptop, what happens is my laptop then sends it out onto the cloud because it's in the Google Drive folder, updates it there, and then my computer at home goes, oh gee, there's a newer version in the cloud, and it brings it down. So I actually have all my files in a whole lot of different locations. And for me, that's a nice extra security for me, knowing that I'm not going to lose my files and work from there. So Google Drive is happily syncing in the background. It's now got up to 3.35 gig. Note, if you're on an education account, you have unlimited storage. It says 10 terabytes. Notice I finally got it to 0.1 terabytes the other day. So 100 gig of data. And all of a sudden, my top usage on my other one went up to 10.1, so that I've actually still got 10 terabytes of spare data, which is a ridiculous amount, even for somebody who does a lot of work with videos like I do. Okay, so that's syncing away. Let's do an example. Let's see, hopefully that will work while that is still syncing away. Notice there is an Open Google Drive folder option here. So we can see the Google Drive folder, and then there's also an option here to go and visit on the web. But we've already got both of those open. So let's see what happens now if I create a folder inside my Google Drive. So I'm going to go new folder. I'm going to go web demo. Put it there. As soon as I do that, although it's got a little bit of still the syncing to go, it should start to send that information out to here. So I'm just going to refresh my page. I shouldn't need to do that, but we'll just see how it goes from there. No folder yet, but we're just waiting for this syncing to finish, and then we should be fine from there. And then we should automatically now have a folder there, which is called Web Demo. Working very hard. I probably should have reduced the amount of things which we'll actually be bringing down this afternoon, but that should do quite all right. All right, so it's syncing away nicely. I have a folder which is called Google Drive, and inside that I have now the capacity to put things. So earlier this afternoon, I grabbed some pictures of some elephants, and I'm just going to drag them and drop them into here. Now, that will probably get synced to the end of this list and work from there. But what we're going to be doing, and in fact, I can show you how I've done this already once in the past. There will now be a folder which has some photos which we've put into there. And if I have clicked on getting a link, this folder can become accessible to anyone in the world who can view it. So if I just come in here, click anyone, normally I have to go to more, anyone with the link can view it. And if I take this address and copy it, go to a new tab and paste it in, what I will get is this view of photos, which if I click on the first one, is very much like a set of slideshow photos. And that can be a very easy way to publish photos. I know the sports guy at my school, he takes a lot of photos out at events for parents. What he basically does is he puts them into a folder on Google Drive back here, and then he shares a link to that file so that parents can actually see the photos and can download the photos and can make it work from there at any point. Okay, just checking and seeing how many people are there at this moment. Not a lot, but that's okay. Hopefully people will enjoy this on the replay. Can I remind you that if there's a better time for you for then Monday afternoons at 3:30 for this training, I'm more than happy to listen to those suggestions. Contemplating maybe a 7:30 at night option in the middle of the week. But if that's something that you think would work better for you, just give me an email. And I'm happy to listen to any suggestions which makes this successful and empowering for you. Remembering Single Point IT basically sponsored this so that everyone who is using especially Chrome devices and using the Chrome browser favorite can use it effectively. All right, we're still syncing, getting very close. Some of them are reasonably large movies that I've created over the years. So maybe we should have thought about that just a little bit more. All right, here's a couple of things that we can do while we wait. When you get something shared with you, quite often it just appears in this random order of when people actually shared them. It can be quite frustrating. So there's a couple of things that you can do. First of all, if there's a folder that you really like and you want your own copy to be kept on your computer's hard drive, you actually can do a number of things to make that happen. So I can open it up and I can look. Now, I don't think I'm allowed to on this particular one, but I could download that folder and keep a copy for it myself. Secondly, I'm not sure who the other was. If I have a folder that I really want to be able to keep track of where it is, I can go here and go add a star. And by adding a star, when I click in this starred section over here, it brings up the things that are important and the things that I need to be able to find. And I find that's a really handy strategy or technique to use with this. Adding stars, and you can remove a star by right-clicking on it and remove the star. If you want to keep a copy of this folder totally for you, now I couldn't do it before on Kathy's. No, I must have already done it. If I want to keep my own copy in my drive, I can come up here to add to my drive, and that basically means that even though other people might change the contents, if they change it, it gets changed in my drive as well, and I will keep the most common recent copy available to me there as well. So hopefully this will finish downloading in a second and we'll be able to do a practical example with that, but that's just some of the key things. Starring things means that you're basically putting a little peg on it saying, let's keep it handy, where if we make it part of the drive, then that can be a handy thing. Now, notice here that here are all the folders that we've got accessible to, and that if you need to get into subfolders, these triangles are the key way to being able to access further parts into it. And then obviously you can click in here and see the contents that people have created. All right, we must be getting very close. And you consider that it's taken maybe almost 10 minutes to sync, but basically if that was all my files were kept in my Google Drive and I was using this system, if I put it all inside the folder, then what's going to happen is that in 10 minutes I have all my files back. There we go. Now we're uploading up into the process. So let's go right back to my drive now, just as a finish. Note now that I have this web demo and I open it up. I have the photos and one last one that's been copied now, and there's my collection of photos. So as I was saying before, if you wanted to share that collection of photos, maybe it's the photos from your athletics carnival, you can press the button here. Only specific people can access this file. Click the share settings, and then basically from here I can get a shareable link. Now in an organization which is an educational organization, you have a lot more options. This one here, anyone with a link can edit, comment or view. is not normally available. You actually have to go to the More menu in an educational one, and you'll get a listing of all the people within your school's domain can see it, all the people with a link outside of the domain. Basically, no sign-in required. And if I leave that as a view permission, that means that they can just see it. They can't change anything to do it. But obviously, sharing of photos, you need to be careful and cautious that you have the right approach, and that you only basically give people who are meant to be able to get access to photos the idea that they can do it too. All right, so let's go back here to this. All right, web demo folder. If I now put a Word document inside that folder, I'm just going to open up Word. You should note, Word works very differently to a lot of other programs where it only saves when you tell it to save. I guess it's very common on a program, but it doesn't work like a web app. It's very different to a web app. So here we go. We'll choose a Word document. I'm just going to type, hello, everyone. And I'm going to go here and save it. But because I want to make it part of my Google Drive, I'll call it hello, everyone. I'm going to put it into the Google Drive folder and press save. And what should happen over here straight away is this starts spinning, and you can see how it automatically synced and sent it up here. So if I'm on this page and I refresh the page, so I don't even think I needed to refresh the page, you can see that there is a hello everyone.docx. I'm just going to close it here. I'm going to open it up on this section here. And you notice how it shows it to me as just a straight, I can see it. But I do get this option here to open it with Google Docs, because Google Docs will edit a docx or a Microsoft Word format. Hello, everyone. Goodbye. All that there. Now, because Google Docs saves every single step, I can be able to click that there, and I know that that's automatically saved. So over here, the syncing is complete. I'm going to close this here and jump back to the section here. Hello, everyone. Should be it must have converted it. That's not what I really wanted it to do. But in theory, that should actually make that so that that will actually now be accessible, and the changes would come here. And I just don't think it's synced at this point in time, and it should sync only in a minute or two for it to be able to work. All right. Similar thing, if you had some files which you needed to put in here to share with people, you have the capacity to just, let's grab some of the junk, a couple of screenshots, drop them in. As soon as they've uploaded, you can see how it's changed here, and we've already seen them available here. But then you should also find now that if I go back to the Google Drive option here, those images which I just uploaded, screenshot, will come down any second now, so they're available to us. Maybe not working as perfectly as we'd hope, but it will come down very shortly. If you have trouble with your sync settings, I do encourage you to look at some of the setup and how it works. So one thing that you can do here is you can go to your preferences, and at the moment my default option is that I can only see I have everything synced that's in my drive. Sometimes I have some files that I don't really want to keep a copy of, particularly any screencasting videos that I do. And so one of the things I can do is I can choose to come in here and say, don't sync that folder. Don't sync that folder, and press apply. And then basically it's going to warn me, it's going to take those folders away, but that still can be a handy thing. I'm going to press cancel there for now. This is your account, and you have some advanced things here, so you can limit your bandwidth so it doesn't take up all your internet connection if you are in a slow section. Go from there. It even has a visit shared with me button, so that you can go on the web and look at it. Shared with me files are not brought down into your local Google Drive unless you add them to your drive, and that's why that you can actually get them from there. One last thing that I'd probably like to just focus on today is the share button. Which, a number of people don't fully understand how that works sometimes. Whoever email addresses you put in here, you can choose to edit and view. Because it's a folder, there's no commenting privileges. If I go to a new Google Doc but I have the capacity to be able to comment on there. Some people I know have suggested that Google should allow people to be able to comment on things within folders, and that would give sort of like a rights shared across pretty quickly. If we press this here, name it before it's saving, untitled document. No, you get it simple there, but there is an advanced button. That advanced button can actually be quite a handy way just to be able to see the overall of everything that's been happening in all these different situations. So that's one thing that can be helpful for us there. All right, so let's just summarize what we've learned today. Firstly, Google Drive not only appears on the web, but it does appear out on the internet. And so not on the web, it also can be set up to be an application on our computer. When that is running, whatever we put into the web folder is synchronized with what is available to us on our Google Drive folder here. And if I change something here, by changing it, it will automatically update what goes on the web. And it's constantly looking for what is the most recent version and making sure that everyone who uses it has access to those most recent versions. When we come in here, we could set up a folder on our computer so that we could put a whole bunch of photos inside it. And whatever we put here, without even having to open up the internet, automatically gets shared. And it is possible to share this folder by coming in here, right-clicking on the folder, going share, and you could get a link so that anyone could get access to it. You could put in the individual names of the people you want to be able to use it. And that way, from that information, then you would be able to have people collaborating and contributing to a project you're working on. Let me give you a key example. I work with the Year 12 media class at my school, and they're putting together a farewell video at this point in time. They're trying to get every student to contribute photos. So they created a folder like this. They then made sure it was shared to everyone in their year, and they gave them the rights to be able to edit, so anyone could upload things to that album. They then can use the Google Drive app so that whenever somebody puts a photo on the web, it automatically gets synced back to their computer, and then we'll be able to work it from there. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon's seminar, and I hope it all makes sense. I am hoping that this will be one in many of the seminars in this sort of area, and I'll remind you, if you want to, maybe you should consider letting me know what type of things you'd like me to cover. Thanks.